Anybody else want to look at my portfolio? See how hardcore I am? There we go. We'll get it to you eventually. Alright, getting ready to start this Black Book Conversations. Let me start this camera here. I'm the curator, the artist, and the videographer and promoter and all that stuff. And my wife's the one who raised me in and said, well, there has to be money in it or you got to stop. And that's my wife, so I want to give thank you to my wife. And my son for helping out today. So once again, we're having another event November, the 2nd through the 4th. It's a 3-day conference. It involves a drawing session, an art show, goodies from one of our sponsors, Binders, all kinds of art materials to be given away, some prizes, some gift cards, costume contest, let's see, what else was it, body painting, and of course art, and the theme is Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. And along with all of that, we have a lawyer coming through. She's going to talk about copyrights and trademarks, something very important that artists need to know. We're having Mr. Gilbert Young. Whoever heard of Mr. Gilbert Young? He's an awesome artist. That one painting that you've seen around the corner in every corner in America being sold that has a black dude up on top reaching down trying to help his brother up over the wall. I think it's called My Helper or My Brother's. He ain't heavy. He ain't heavy. That's right. He ain't heavy. So that guy. That old dude is insane and awesome artist and has been in the business for a long time, and he will be speaking also. So that's some things you don't want to miss. We're going to have art gallery curators talking about what it is the artists need to do to further their career, what kind of portfolio they need to have. We're going to have tech industry people talking about where digital art is going with technology. And this place right here, Hypepotamus, is an awesome place. It's for tech companies who are working on mobile and devices, companies for devices. And so that's an example of one of these companies, TripLingo. And I can't say exactly what area is their expertise, but they are in the tech industry, and there aren't that many artists. There's like 4 or 5 coders in there and 1 artist. If you're an artist and you do digital art, if you're an artist and you're not doing digital art, then you need to step up and look at your career and see what it is that you're trying to do for yourself. Because these tech companies need artists to design and implement their apps onto people's phones. Only an artist can do that. Only an artist can draw the illustrations and do the interfaces that need to be done. So, start thinking about those things, and we will have tech people talking about it at this conference. So please take a look at that flyer passed out. Talk to my wife if you want to pay for your ticket now. It's $45. It's $50 online. Tomorrow it goes to $60. Let's see. So I'm going to introduce these great people here. We do have Dion doing some massages, so go check her out. And we had Deidre talking about 4G LTE AT&T. So we have Ashley. She is an art teacher at a high school. I don't know how she does it. And kids, they're not kids, but they're crazy. We have Andaiye, and she works with the City of Atlanta, Fulton County Library System, and she advocates for artists and for kids learning about art. And then we have W, an awesome artist who's been on the scene for a long, long time. I met him about over 10 years ago. And I've been taking tips from him ever since, and still to this day. So I'm going to let each person speak for themselves and tell them about them and what they do and why they're doing it. And we'll start with Ashley.
My name is Ashley Dopson, and basically what I am is I'm an art educator, and I'm also an art education consultant. And what I do is I taught elementary, middle, and high school. How I started off was I was a comprehensive art major at Hampton University. I had no education experience, no education courses, and I got out of college and I couldn't find a job. Pretty much like everybody else who was an art major. So I went and got on my feet and brought my portfolio and went to every school in Hampton, Virginia to find a job. Everybody said no because you weren't an education major, you're not an art education major. So what I did was I went to art directors of different school districts. And I pretty much just sold myself through my portfolio, through my experiences in college. That's how I got in the door. If you want to be an art teacher, it's a great job during the day to inspire other people to use their creative talent. That's pretty much how I got in the door. I got in the door on what's called a provisional certificate. About 7 years ago, I started on a provisional certificate, and what it is that any kind of art career, if you were a graphic design major, any kind of major, if you had any kind of experience, period, academically or even in the business world of art, you have a door in education. Principals all over pay lots of money to get consultants to come in and speak to their teachers. You can make $5,000 to $6,000 for 2 hours. Basically what you're doing is you're going in and you're teaching teachers, like math teachers, social studies teachers, other teachers, how they can implement visual tactics to get these kids to respond. A lot of our kids are really, because they're so visually inundated when they get out of school and then they get to school and they're like standardized tests and it's like the rest of us, okay? So basically what they're doing is they're bringing in the artists to come in and train the teachers on how to look at things from a different perspective. So those are some of the things I've done. I've also worked with Susan Taylor. I'm not sure if anybody knows her. She's the editor of Essence Magazine. This summer I went to Maryland to write the curriculum for her project. It's called National Care. And the project that I wrote, I was on a team of 4 people. There was a scientist, I was the artist, there was a curriculum director, and there were 2 principals on the team. And basically what we did in the curriculum was we built from our areas and we kind of put it all together to have an after-school program for mentoring inner city students. Basically how I got into that was just being in the inner city schools and going in. I was doing after-school programs. I've done programs in the projects. I've done programs inside the school. Right now I'm at Frederick Douglass High School, and the area that my children come from is Bankhead. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar. Bankhead and Simpson Road, these areas are kind of areas that my kids are coming from. And it's really, really something that we need, you guys. We need real artists to be in the schools. You don't have to be an art education major, and I would just stress for you to even drop your resume off and let the principals know, hey, this is what I do. You are a tattoo artist, you are anything, so that our kids can have more avenues. Right now they don't really see those avenues. All they see is, how am I going to get through to graduate? And if they can see an urban designer, when they can see someone who's actually in a field or someone who actually lives the life of an artist, they can actually see the different avenues of it. That's pretty much it. I really enjoy what I do. I love teaching kids. It's so much fun. If you feel like you're not good with kids, once you get in there, it's just so carefree and so easy. Kids are so inspired. It doesn't matter what age. I teach up to 21 right now. Okay, so some of these kids are a lot of times art is the only way that you can reach a child. In some ways they come from such rough circumstances that when they come to the art room, it's all right, I've been waiting for this all day. So if you guys could please, if you could just drop off your resumes, ask the principal, hey, can I come speak to 30 kids about what I'm doing or work on this project with me, they would love it. I've also done murals too. So murals are a great way to kind of bring in high school kids, middle school kids, even elementary kids, and into doing some actual public art opportunities in the city. And that's a lot. That's a lot. I actually faster than
Sounds
that.
like we're done now.
Okay, we got time?
No, yes, we got plenty of time. Go ahead, Andaiye.
Good evening. My name is Andaiye Reeves. My professional trade is a librarian, but I actually grew up in a house full of artists, visual artists. My mom's an artist, my brother's an artist, and then I had children. I have a son with Asperger's syndrome, which is a form of autism. He is a tremendous artist, and my daughter's like MacGyver. She can make crafts out of anything. Toothpick, paper clip, gun wrapper. She's got a sculpture going. So I kind of feel like it's my calling to advocate for artists. My mom and my brother really never did too much with it, and I kind of understand where I think I do, where artists are coming from, because there's a passion behind it, there's an emotion behind it, and to me, I didn't understand, not coming from that visual perspective. Okay, so it takes you 2 seconds to draw something out, and I think it's fantastic. So, I got stuff in the attic, stuff in the basement, all these wonderful things that my family has done, just sitting there, because they refuse to start their own business. My mom taught for 30 years, my brother's in and out of work, but he has a livelihood right there that he's not utilizing, and it kind of stresses me out. So I kind of made it my personal mission to work with artists and say, well, my background is information sharing, so let me share information that I have with you. If I know someone, and we have like 6 degrees of separation in the room. I met one gentleman here because I go to Onyx-Con. I'm very nerdy, and I collect comic books. And the first comic book that I started collecting was Brother Man comics by a gentleman named Andaiye. He changed his name. Mr. Sims was his first, I guess, government name. And then he changed it to Andaiye. And I happened to be at work one night, and I heard somebody say there was a program in the basement of Black comics and da-da-da-da, and Andaiye and Brother Man. I said, Dawood making Brother Man comics. Let me see who this person is fronting on this. I gotta see what's going on. So I go down there. It's the same gentleman. So I had a groupie moment. I said, where else can this happen? Who thinks of things like this at the library? Now, I ain't gonna tell you when I was in college and high school, but it was a while ago. And so, no one ever thinks that you're gonna actually meet an artist that you collected work from at the library. So I primarily work with high school and middle school students, and they do a lot of things that you guys are doing right now. This young lady here is sketching some wonderful work. I've been looking at you guys. This young lady here is doing some fantastic things, and I'm always in awe. I'm a writer, and so you have to get what I put to paper. You guys put an image, and it's however you see it is how you see it. You see it one way, I see it another way. I find that fascinating. So I'm a little envious. When I see kids like her around the library just sketching, and they won't say I'm an artist. They'll be there to do homework, and while they're waiting, it'll be some amazing pieces that just come out of them sitting there scribbling. And I say, well, why don't you want to go to school to be a scientist, and that's fine, but why don't you do that? Why don't you go to school for that too? Well, my mom said, there's no money in it, and Well, let me pass some information on to you. I have some contacts in some art schools. I know some people that can give you some internships. I know some people that can give you scholarships. So that's pretty much where I come from. And in the process of that, I've met some artists in the past. I've met W. I bought a lot of his work. We were just talking about that. He doesn't know it because he sees so many people, but it's in my house. I've met Dan here, I think, at Onyx-Con one year, and I just had so much fun talking to different artists at these events. And Dion's here with me. She's a very good friend of mine. And we were laughing because I'm a very shy person. I don't really like public speaking unless I'm passionate about something. So if I'm passionate about it, I run my mouth all day long. This is just something that I'm passionate about. So when I go to Onyx-Con or Comic-Con or there are events in the library, I make sure I go talk to the artists because I'm always thinking, how can I prepare my son? How can I make sure my brother gets up and does something to go to work today? So it's a personal thing, but I also see my family in these kids that I work with on a regular basis. And then in the course of that, there are a number of adults that come to the library that are in transitional housing, and they're also amazing artists. There are some artists in the shelter right now you wouldn't believe. And some of them actually, we'll talk about it a little bit. I've passed out 3 documents, and if you don't have them, there's some on the little red table by the lady in the green jacket. She can do her band of white flourish for you. One is just some information that we could talk about a little bit later as the day goes on about what the library can do for you as an entrepreneur and an artist. The other one is actually an exhibit application, and if you hadn't thought about it before, you can show your work in the public library, and not just the Atlanta Fulton Public Library. Pretty much every library has a gallery or a little space or a corner. And if you're offering to do a mural, like you said, or you want to just paint a little something for the children's area, or you want to do a full-scale hanging, there's options for you. I don't want to take too much time up with the introduction. Again, when I'm passionate about something, I can talk all day long, so somebody give me to wrap it up.
Go ahead, W.
All right. My name is Dwayne Wright. Most people know me as W. My background is in urban illustration. I started off in North Carolina, went to East Carolina, so my classmates are here, you know. After graduation, I moved back home for a while and worked at a newspaper designing car ads. You know those little car ads that say, like, no money down, little starbursts? That was me. I was doing that for about 11 months and realized I could not do that anymore. It got tough. So then I moved to Atlanta, and that's when I think the career really started to pick up, because Atlanta was the time. The Black Arts Festival was really big, and there was a lot of artists down here that I really liked, and they were really open community, and it was just amazing. And there was a drawing session that we used to go to at Spelman, where a lot of the more established artists at the time would get together on Wednesday nights and draw, and which was something that was mind-blowing, because that wasn't happening in North Carolina, at least Fayetteville. We didn't have access to artists like that. And from there, a lot of friendships developed, and not to mention, you had a chance to see people who are masters at their craft at work. And you could see their technique and their passion for things and their vision and how they put things together. So that was a really big developmental time. About 2005, we did a show at the High Museum called Art, Beats, and Lyrics. And that was the first time me and my business partner worked together in producing an art show. And the theme was urban art. We had tattoo artists, street artists, b-boys, breakdancers, everything that falls under the umbrella of what you would consider urban, hip-hop culture. So, and that show sold out the museum in 2 hours. And from there, we did other programs together, other different types of themed art shows. And over time, we had a chance to get the show and go on the road with it. And we've got a partnership with Gentleman Jack and Jack Daniels. And currently, we tour. We do about 8 cities a year doing the show. We start off in Atlanta with the big show because, that's where we're based. And we do a show in all types of different cities. Now, actually, this year we're going to more major markets. We're hitting New York, LA, Miami. Before we used to do Charlotte, Atlanta. Jackson, Mississippi was a show. If you ever guys had a chance to go to Jackson, Mississippi, there's an awesome barbecue place down there. There's E&L's, little plug for them. But Birmingham, Houston, Dallas, and now we're going to take it. We did it in LA, and LA went over really well. So a lot goes into the whole concept of treating an art show with the same promotion level of a concert to get lots of people and get people excited. Because we found that most people that go to art shows are bored. They go to the show, the walls are white, paintings are on. If you look at it, and within 15 minutes you've seen everything, now you're ready to go. So we wanted to make something that engaged the viewers and everybody gets excited, and something that people want to talk about and inspire them. So they'll see something and go home and I want to try this. Or see something in the work and say, this reflects my belief system, or this reflects me. So that was the core of the show, and currently we're still on the road. We have 4 more shows. We're at the halfway mark. We still have New York, Miami, St. Louis, and D.C., which is a great art city. You guys are trying to sell some artwork. D.C. is a great place. Yeah. That's a little about me.
All right. So we're going to start. Each one person up here brought some information they're going to share with you. And we'll start this time with Andaiye, since she's actually well, both these people are tied in with the city, with the Atlanta, and with the arts. And so we're gonna start off with what Andaiye has to say about the city of Atlanta and artists and the library, etc. Let her tell it.
Exciting. Some of the documents that you have, again, three major things. This little handout that gives you a basic idea of what tools the library may have to offer you. And then again, the exhibit form, and then the rules and regulations. So this, take it home. Hopefully somebody will have their work hanging there soon. I believe they're at least 6 months back or 6 months in advance, so you have plenty of time to prepare, I think, to get a hanging together. And we also temporarily have a temporary exhibit space, and that's at the main library. But again, there's 34 branches, so there are a number of places you can hang your work. It can be as an individual, it can be as a collective group. So if you're part of a group or an organization, we have women's groups, children's groups. Some schools actually hang their work. And depending on what exactly you're trying to do, the name on here is Share a Bow, I believe. And sometimes they even do first Thursdays, and there'll be refreshments. I don't quite know who sponsors that, but you want to call and get information on that. It's free promotion, free marketing. Take advantage of it. Basically, the main tool that I'm pushing, of course, is the library card. Who has one? Who owes money? I'm All right. I do have forms here. Please don't give them back to me. You are welcome to take it with you and take it to your nearest branch. And I also have some information on what kind of identification you need to get your card, due dates and fines and all that wonderful stuff. What the card will enable you to do, among other things, is number one, check out resources, and you can pass this around if you like. This is a wonderful book called Campus CEO by Randall Pinkett. Anybody familiar with Mr. Pinkett? From my hometown of Newark, New Jersey, Brick City. He won The Apprentice that year. They asked him to share it with another young lady, and he's like, no. Nobody remembers that? Okay, one person? A brilliant, brilliant businessman. And basically, the title may be a little unassuming or whatever the word is, campus CEO, but it basically teaches you how to use the resources that are within your means. So if you're on a college campus or a high school campus where you have access to printers, you have access to computers, you have access to attract audience because you see these same people every day. So it basically teaches you how to use your immediate resources to make money and start your own business, and it doesn't take a lot. So that's a wonderful resource. Your card will help you check out things like that. I'm just going to use you, I'm so sorry. And then these look wonderful and fascinating, I know, but these are handy-dandy business guides. It also gives you access to reference books. You can't check it out, but you can use it in the library. And if you don't mind, again, thank you, passing it around, and somebody else can grab this one and you can pass it around. It basically tells you, it tells you everything that you need to know from A to Z about starting a business. And I pulled some that I hope will speak to some of you as artists. I think one is graphic design and one is children's book illustrator, just as examples. There's different things you can do if you think outside the box. From A to Z, literally, every step that you need to take, what forms, thinking about overhead costs, can you do it online, how much you would need if you need employees, just anything that you would need to know from start to finish on starting that type of business. We don't have one for every type of business, but there are general basic guides that you can use to help you out. And I know Dan mentioned that there'll be people coming at the next sessions to talk about legal documents and things like that. We can get you started with that kind of material too. With your library card, you have access to the computers. Now, the computers you get to use for a total of 2 hours per day, and that's just because we have to service so many people. We do like to think that you're looking at job work, college stuff, those things, but everybody's not doing
Facebook.
But, well, you know, I will say something on behalf of Facebook. That's how I get to you. That's how I get to you. I get more work done in free programming and things from Facebook contacts than regular email blasts, writing letters. So it really is a great resource for me. And since this is on film, tell my boss when I'm on Facebook, I'm actually working. Working. So your card will get you access to resources like books, using the computer, looking up things like tutorials on YouTube. If you don't have your own computer, then this means a lot. There's a tutorial on YouTube for everything. My son used it to learn how to use Flash Professional, CS6, something or other, because he's into animation now. I don't know what that is. He just goes on YouTube, punches something in, and when I tell you he's got 3 or 4 animated videos that he's already done. I don't know how he did it, but he has access to that. What else? Different databases. If we're talking about academic schooling for the arts, then we have databases like JSTOR Arts if you need to research a certain artist. You need to recreate something in a particular style. You have access to that as well. If you need to find a PDF of a particular piece, we have big, oversized art books with recreations and prints of famous pieces, historical pieces, and things that you can use on the computer as well. Just walking into the library, again, you can use the business startup kits. We have a lot of trade journals and directories, so if you were looking for an agent, if you're looking for a gallery, and you don't know where to start, we have directories that can assist you with that. Legal document templates, if you run into one of these people that says, hey, I want to see if you can draw that, and then says, oh, but let me have it, that turned out pretty good. And you're like, no, buddy, you got to pay for this. Well, you know, I'll give it to you next week. You can whip out a contract template. It's very simple. I, so-and-so, agreed to such and such and pay you on such and such amount until you get into the real heavy stuff. We have those kind of things available to you. And then, of course, you can also hang your work in the different branches. A lot of people are not aware of this. Has anybody heard of becoming a county vendor? No. Well, I won't say it's a simple process. There is a contact person. If you have this sheet, Keisha Matthews is the person that you will need to speak with. There is a process. I've not done it, so I was about to say it's easy, but I've not done it. She is going to be your best friend. What being a Fulton County vendor allows you to do is to provide services if you want to teach art, if you want to do a program, show kids how to draw. Dan's doing a program for me on the history of tattoo art, and he's going to help kids create their own little original tattoos. We've had J.R. Wheeler III, the young man who started Onyx Con, has done some programming for us. If you've got a book on your artwork, you can do a book signing. You can do all sorts of stuff through Fulton County, not just the library. You can do it at the government center. You can be commissioned to do a piece for the governor's office, just whatever. Just if you think about the different departments within Fulton County and what their needs might be, it could be anything. I believe, and you'll have to speak with Ms. Matthew on this, you can price your own service. But I believe as long as it's under $2,500, you can charge up to that amount. If it's $2,500 and up, they will have to bid out, meaning you're in competition with somebody. So the way it works is once you become a vendor, you get a vendor ID number. You start letting people know I'm a Fulton County vendor. I can provide this service to you. We have Christmas parties. They have all kinds of celebrations. They do all sorts of stuff. And I know a lot of artists you have multiple mediums. You may cook. You may paint. You may do collages. You may do a number of things. All these services are things that you want to include when you do your vendor application. So you do have to have a business license or be in the process of getting one, and you have to have a W-9 form. And I've included the link through the IRS for that. But pretty much it's about marketing and promoting your brand when you do programs for the library or you hang your artwork. And again, the rules are in that exhibit form that I passed out. When you do, just as an example, when you do a program for the library, whether we pay you or not, because we like free. We have no money to pay, but we do like free. And I will say, even if I tell you that the library doesn't have any money, my particular branch, we have friends groups. And if you can approach the friends groups will pay for you. So I wouldn't worry about somebody saying, we don't have any money. Somebody's got it. I'm at the Central branch. So I can tell you we don't have any funding for programming, but we do have friends groups. They are your friends. Grants are also your friends. We have information on grant writing. You can go to the reference department. You want to learn how to write a grant to start your own business. You want to learn how to work with Kickstarter. Has anybody heard of that, Kickstarter? Has it worked for anybody? Maybe.
Has anybody done it here?
No? Okay, good. Good. That is one resource that I tend to promote. But again, I've not heard anything, whether it's been successful or not. I don't know if people actually go forward with it or not. All I can do is pass on the information and hopefully somebody will use it. I also work, because of my children, I work with a number of art schools in the area. There's Mario's Art Academy in East Point, which is a wonderful school, and they actually teach kids comic book art and animation and how to create apps much like these gentlemen here. And I think the kids from that little school, it's very small, so I think they actually got to participate in an event with Apple, where they were in some very expensive, just closed door thing, and you sit there all night and you create apps. So I don't know anywhere else in the city where kids can get a chance, urban kids get a chance to do things like that, but this school is doing awesome things. So anything that I come across as information as a librarian, I'm passing on to kids, and I'm passing on to anybody that asks me about it. And I believe, thinking outside the box for other types of work you can do in the meantime or as a side hustle to your professional business, getting that started. Of course, in addition to illustrating just book cover art, I know that all these things that nobody pays attention to, but somebody had to create this. A lot of this stuff gets commissioned. We have a lot of self-published material out now, and some of the artwork is not all that great. But maybe if they knew that there were some artists of a professional caliber available, the artwork would be a little bit better on some of these self-published books. Bookmarks, logos. The county has a logo. Somebody had to create it. I'm not sure what the backstory is behind this, but somebody created it, an artist. It was not a librarian that came up with that, I can assure you. Things like conferences. Librarians have conferences, 2 or 3 a year. American Library Association has a lot of celebrations. We do Teen Read Week, Summer Reading, teen stuff, National Gaming Day. We do all kinds of things. And there are artists who are commissioned to create logos and create posters for these things. I couldn't sit here and tell you now how to create a business plan to get in touch with the people who commission it, but I can find out, because that's what I do. So if you come to the library and you ask for Ms. Reeves and you say, you mentioned such and such, and I really would like to have more information about that, I will try really hard to find out how you accomplish it, because that's what I do. I share information. I didn't bring a copy with me, but there is a trade journal for librarians. And on the back of that, there's always an ad. You know how you get a magazine, and on the back, there's always the same ad, maybe a car deal, and I don't know the name of the artist, but he works mainly in paper. He does paper cuttings of animals. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. But every issue of this Librarian Trade magazine, it got to the point where, since I was little, I'm old, since I was little, I'd always look on the back. There's that. And I don't remember his name, But I promise you, if I see his work, I know exactly who it is. It's awesome stuff. And it got to the point where I think he started off as an artist, but he became known as, that's that guy on the back of the library magazine. And if you didn't see his stuff back there, it was a problem. And even when we started doing library conferences, he got so popular with librarians, he had to have a poster, he had to have his own kiosk, you had to see his work there, otherwise it was a problem. He had little thank you cards, so that was a big thing to do. Oh, these are so awesome, I'm going to give all the librarians all these little thank you cards with this guy's paper cutting of animals on it. So, something to think about, think outside the box, create your brand with something unusual, even if it's something as small as bookmarks. Kids love bookmarks, grown-ups love bookmarks. If you create a brand where it's your specific logo or something that really catches on, and just imagine the free marketing you get if I'm walking around with this. You can't put it in a Nook, you can't put it in an e-reader, but we still need bookmarks. T-shirts, canvas bags, librarians use all that stuff. So I probably run my mouth quite a bit.
We're going to take a breather for a second. How many people find this information useful? That's right. Yeah, thank Ashley and Andaiye for their time, for coming to you and bringing this information. We all need some kind of tips and ideas on how we can further our careers, and everything is around in your town. It's already here. All we need is to go out there and find it, or go look for the people who know about this stuff. And so that's what we're trying to do here. So next is up. Oh, don't forget to tweet TBBCATL, Artist King, and that Lucom on Twitter, so that you can get a chance to win a free ticket for November. Come on, do it right now. That's your ticket waiting for you if you don't tweet. All right, so now we're going to talk to W. W, take it away.
Okay. All right. Building off the topic of self-promotion and artists, that's an area that I'm extremely passionate about. Self-promotion is one of the things that you absolutely have to do when starting out. It's not an option. It's not like something you might want to get into later. It's something that you have to do. So when you're thinking about your self-promotion, you got to think about the image that you want to put out there. First of all, this is all assuming that you've been practicing your craft and you're getting your artwork is ready to be put out there. So once you got that, you got to think of one, what do you want people to call you? The name. A lot of people in the street art scenes have aliases, which is very common. Some of them make more sense than others. Some of them are just. I know one guy, he told me it was his AOL name. He just used that as a street name. It worked for him. So find out what you want people to call you. That's the first thing. Then think about the type of image you want to put out there for people to see you guys. If you're targeting a certain audience, certain things help. Like, I guess a friend of mine, named Kevin A. Williams, put for most of his career, his name is WAK, WAC. And as he progressed in his career, he's going after high clientele. He decided to, use his real name as opposed to his other name. And that's like a gradual change that he made because he's changing his audience. So, but that's the first thing. Time what we would call you. Then you want to think about the basic thing that you're going to use to get your artwork seen by people, which is the computer. The internet is the best thing that's ever happened to artists, next to like the pencil and the brush. It is the best thing. I was starting out, that's how people got a chance to see my stuff, is via the internet. It wasn't, being in a bunch of shows, it was the internet. And having things like social media is important right now. Some people don't want to put their, back in the day, artists were like, I don't want to get on the internet, I don't want nobody stealing my stuff. Okay, I had a guy say that, we're talking like 1998. I walked up to him at a festival, I was like, yo, you got a website? He's like, nah, I don't want to put my stuff out there. I'm like, okay, you're going to be a dinosaur. A couple years later, he's like, yeah, I'm getting into building websites, So, but that was his thing, and of course he changed his mind. But one of the things about using the internet is you got to get yourself a website. Nowadays, there's no real reason not to have one. They got things like Tumblr, WordPress. There's no reason not to have a website. A domain name costs like $10. That's not a big cost. So the entry into it is very inexpensive, and it helps out a lot. And by putting your stuff in places where people can see it, they forward it on to other people, and that's how you do gigs. An example of that is Twitter. Twitter makes absolutely no sense in logic. The fact that you're tweeting at the grocery store, who cares? You know, but it does connect you to people. And a prime example of that is I was on Twitter, and I got connected with a woman who put me in connection with another guy, and I got a chance to headline a festival in Toronto off of Twitter. It wasn't that they came to a show and saw my work and was blown away by it, like I got to meet this guy. It was a tweet that led to something that led to something else. And it's happened a couple other times where people have seen my stuff on Facebook. And there was a guy who's been collecting people's artwork, you know, putting it on his page. A lot of times artists get upset about that. I don't know why you're doing that. Me, I don't care. You know, you want to collect it and put it there, it's great. Because by him doing that, that basically makes it easier for people to find artists that they want to hire for things. They put them all in one place. And he's basically like a cultural curator of sorts. He went and found people whose work he likes and put it all in one area, and then people went to his page and was like, you know what, I like this guy's stuff. I want to have him do a show with us. And things like that helps get your word out. And things that help really push your product or your brand, whatever, and it puts you in places you probably couldn't go. Because that show was in LA and other places in Toronto. And, you know, and I'm not living in any of those places. So things like that happen. So that's another thing. Social media, if you can far as talking about your logo, that does help. And it's just that people love bookmarks, people love stickers. Street artists are all about stickers. All about stickers. It's kind of weird when you see grown men getting together, passing stickers to each other. It's kind of crazy, but it happens. You know, there's a thing called Art Basel that takes place in Miami every year. It's like I would say the Olympics of art or the Super Bowl of art. So pretty much everybody's favorite artists get together in one city, and some people are doing murals, some people are in shows, and you got people from all around the world down there. But when you go down there and you meet up with other artists, some give you business cards, but most give you stickers. It's all types of stickers. It's really cool, but that's the culture of urban art is stickers. You know, it's a quick way to put your brand up someplace, you know, probably places it doesn't belong, you know, you throw it up there, and that's how they get their word out. So I'm a big proponent of stickers. There's plenty of places to do it. There's a place in town called Imagers. You know, if you're a designer, you can set up your own sheets, and, you know, you cut as many as you want, or go to places like a lot of the folks go to Sticky Ricks, I'm talking about vinyl stickers, not paper stickers. Go with vinyl. Vinyl lasts longer. You can put a vinyl sticker up there for 5 years. You know, put a paper sticker up there, the next time it rains, it'll be gone. Paper stickers are good for like notebooks and stuff like that don't get wet. So, but definitely stickers. But if you're going to go into the route of like doing art shows, which is pretty cool, you know, it's a good way to get people together and, you know, have people come and check out the variety of things you present. I would say the usual entry point is group shows. You know, somebody will be the coordinator and, you know, they'll reach out to a bunch of artists will drop off their work and they'll have it displayed. But the best thing about group shows is that when you put one together, you have how many people in the show? You have 10 people in the show. You have 10 brand ambassadors. That's going to bring people to the event. Back in 2005, at the second art museum was at the High. That was one of the main reasons why we had such a big turnout, is because we had 1 million artists in the show. And if you got 1 million artists in the show and everybody tells 10 people, that's 10 million people to show up. So that really helps out in getting your numbers up and getting more people exposed to your stuff. And as time goes on and your work develops, you'll probably start doing group shows, or maybe 3-man shows, 2-man shows, and then solo shows, which is pretty good to do when you're at that point to do a solo show, because all the focus is on what you do, and then you have the chance to mingle with people that are just interested in your work. So common things, you know, things I've learned about on the road doing tours and art shows is that take time in preparing your work and using decent materials, good materials. It sucks when you're trying to hang something that's really raggedy, and you know the screws on the back falling off, the paint ain't dry yet. Don't do that to yourself. It'll make you look really bad. So actually, go and get some framing done if you can. It can be expensive, but Atlanta has the cheapest frames in the galaxy. You know, if you go on like Full Industrial or Bankhead or Howard, whatever they change to.
Better Memorial.
Yeah, Better Memorial, whatever they change the name to. Cheapest price for framing. And it doesn't have to be like the best frame in the world, but it should be a professional looking frame, because you want your work to look good when you put it out there. You know, you really want your stuff to really pop off the wall. And regardless of what everybody else is doing, you want to look like the pro. You know, you always want to look like the pro. So that does mean matting and that means framing. If you're going to do, this is a pet peeve of mine. If you're going to do photography, do not do the push pins. You might want to write this down. Do not do push pins. That blows my mind. People would try to sell $1,000 prick with push pins on it. That's ridiculous. Go ahead and get your stuff framed. Because if you're willing to invest money in your stuff, I might be willing to invest money in you. So don't do that. That's a big thing. Another thing is make sure your paints are dry. Make sure you drop it off. Wet oil paint is a mess. Don't do that. And if you're going to have your stuff framed, make sure you have stuff to hang it with. Just don't show up with a piece of wood. You're like, there you go, bro. I'm ready to be in the show. And you're like, hell, I'm going to do with this? It's a piece of wood. But just, you know, make sure basic things like that really make it easier to make you look like a pro when you put yourself out there. So, a lot of random information. Hopefully, you do that.
I'm going to, thank you, Devin. This whole thing about promoting yourself is real, because I like to post artwork all the time, as y'all may know. And I went to a drawing session that W was doing at Binders. I did some drawings, and that night I posted them on Facebook. The next day, I got a call from somebody who saw one of those drawings, one of the logo based on one of the drawings. So there I was, making $250 off a logo that on a drawing that I was just out doing, and just why not? Because I'm an artist, that's what I do. And so I post stuff on Instagram all the time. And one of the things about the internet and all these networks, social networking medias, is that they're not. There's not just people who you know who are here in town. There's people from all over the world, literally around the world. So I know people in other countries who like my work, who are emailing me, asking me to do work for them just because of what they've seen on Instagram. So those are all opportunities, and never be scared that somebody's going to steal your work. That is, I know I'm very particular about my artwork, and I love the drawings that I do and the paintings, and I feel very attached to them. But in the end, I can always draw more, and nobody's going to ever draw like I do. Nobody's going to paint like I can. I've had a dream like that one time, where but I didn't have a dream like that. I had a dream that I was in this big auditorium, like a high school auditorium, you know, and on stage there was a group of people going through portfolios, and I was sitting in the bleachers somewhere waiting for the whole thing to be over so that we could find out what artists were picked. And I don't know what the competition was about. I don't remember why I was there, what it was called, nothing. I just know I was sitting in the bleachers. And so it was dragging on, and I remember having to go to the bathroom. And I said, I don't want to leave because they might call somebody's name, it might be my name, and you know where I'm at, where am I? So I said, I can't hold it, I had to go. So I run out to the hallway, and I don't remember anything else outside walking out the hallway and walking back into the hallway. That's what my dream was about. Just walk back into the auditorium. When I walked back into the auditorium, it was empty. And I was like, no! and so I looked at the stage and said, okay, they must have picked who they were supposed to pick. And I want to run up to the table and take a look. So I ran up to the table and just pretend this is really happening right here. And I'm looking kind of peeked. And everybody's crowded around this one guy. And I'm thinking that must be the guy who won. I reach over and I look at the artwork that he was showing off. That was my artwork. I don't understand how I felt about that, because I can't even explain it. I just knew that, how is this guy going to walk around talking about that's his artwork when it was mine, number one. Number two, what's going to happen when they say, go ahead and do us 10 more, and you can't do it? And why would you do that? I couldn't get it. So that was my dream. It's confusing. I've had that dream several times. Maybe it's a fear as an artist or something, but ultimately in the real world, I understand that I can always draw more and make it better. As time goes on, I will be better. So that which somebody else is claiming to be theirs was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last week, and now I figured out a different technique and I'm going to make it look better, and they can go ahead and walk around with that. So never be afraid. That's my thought. Does anybody have any questions for our panel right now? Or is there something you want to say? Oh, you didn't go over yet, actually?
Oh, no, it's okay.
No, go ahead then. Sorry.
Well, basically, my packet pretty much gives you like different lesson plans, different ways that you guys can kind of break into education. I know everybody wants to be a big-time artist, wants to be in the lights and all that kind of stuff, but don't forget about the kids, because there has to be another generation to carry this on, what we're doing. So you don't have to be a full-time artist, art teacher, but come in and please make an effort to come into these school systems, guys. There really needs to be more of a link between the community and the school. It can't just be the educators and they're separate from everybody else. Come in, and I'm guaranteed that any principal will let you have a group of 20 kids, a group of 15 kids. As long as you don't have a record. If you don't have a watchdog, you're good. Come on in and get a couple kids and, show them what you guys got. They'll really appreciate that.
Actually, I saw that today on, if anybody knows Maya Bailey, he owns City of Ink downtown, famous tattoo artist, he's tattooed celebrities and whatnot. He was on Instagram all day posting from Best Academy, teaching an art class at Best Academy.
Right.
So, yeah,
and you can get paid for it, guys. This is like good money for 2 hours. So.
For doing what you love to do already, anyway.
And they're very grateful. If you go to an urban community, they'll be extremely grateful to see you.
Anybody have some questions? A comment? Some idea over there?
I did. Cool. What's the name of the school that you mentioned?
Mario's Art Academy for the Gifted and Talented.
This one that keeps coming up?
AMARIO.
AMARIO.
My information is on my blog. It's up here. Also, you can reach me at actually Danielle Dopson on Facebook. And on my blog, you can see just about every project I've ever done, step by step.
How long you been in the art business?
Well, I graduated from Hampton University in 2006, but I would say I've been in art business since I was a little girl. When I was a little girl, I would go to the French Quarter with my parents, and we'd sit and just watch the artists, and that's where it started, just being submerged in it. Like, everywhere you went, you saw art. Everywhere you set foot, everybody had some kind of art. And when I came to Atlanta in 1989, it was like one of the premier years of a Black Arts Festival. So that's when I, once again, was in all these free activities for the arts. We would go to Spelman, we would go to Underground. Back then, Underground was like nothing like now. It was like...
It was alive.
It was alive. There was like art like everywhere. There was like mimers. There was like this old guy playing a saw. I mean, it was like art everywhere. So it was like, and that's what it is. That's what really sparks that whole lifelong artist thing is to see it when you're younger.
Yeah. So what about you, Danielle? You said, you mentioned your kids. I mean, not Danielle, and Andaiye. You said your kids were into art. That's why you got into it.
Yeah, well, my mother really, I grew up with it as well because my mom and my father had it while they were still in college. And I think my mom was taking a lot of art courses, but she can do everything from flower arrangement to put an outfit together to take some charcoal and whip out a profile of somebody. She just can do anything, and I found that amazing. And then my brother, same thing. He plays Jimi Hendrix on the guitar like you wouldn't believe, and does the whole thing with teeth and behind the back and all that, and he paints and he draws and he does sculptures and all of that, and again, it would get real frustrating because I would be really amazed by this stuff, and it's just in the house, it's just there. And they enjoy doing it, and I guess they're happy with where it is, they're complacent, but to me, I'm thinking there's so much more you could do with it. So when I had my children, and I think my son really started getting into drawing when he was about 7. And he was diagnosed with Asperger's when he was about 8 or 9. But I noticed that that was his comfort, and that was just like tunnel vision, like some of you guys, not saying you have Asperger's, not that it's a bad thing, but you know how some of you are now. You can listen and you can sketch, and you go, okay, and you can sketch something else. You can, you know, he's just there, and then, you know, you're thinking a child is scribbling, and I should have brought some of it with me. I have his art is hanging up, because I did frame that in his room. But the first major piece of work that he did was at Mario's Art Academy for the Gifted and Talented, and he did a painting. And he'll be 14 on Christmas Day now, and he comes home and looks at it, and he's like, that old thing, because he's moved so far beyond what he was able to do at 11 and 12, and it's just amazing to me. And I noticed that if my children, you know, my daughter crafts, again, she'll sit there and just take stuff, and she'll do origami, and, you know, I have all kinds of stuff all over the house that they've made. If they can sit there and find comfort and solace and enjoyment and pleasure and all these things out of doing artwork, then, you know, I need to foster it. I need to make sure that they continue to do it. So I'm in Ultrix, I'm in Sam Flack, I don't know what I'm buying, blue pencils, okay, give me 2 blue pencils, I don't even know what it is, $60 markers, okay, you know, please don't lose them, but, yes, he has, but these are, you know, to me, I find it to be an investment, because he's carried it on from simple drawings to animation, and he's just so focused that I know one day he's going to be animating something for somebody, if not for himself. And my daughter with the crafts, anything that I can do to push her and promote her to continue with that, because that's an avenue for you to make money when you're in college. That's an avenue for you to start your own business until you figure out, hey, this is not what I want to do, but at least, you know, I'm able to do something for myself in the meantime. So I push my kids to do what my mom and my brother didn't do, because they don't have any say over whether or not they get to do it, unlike my mother and my brother. But that's where that came from. And when I started taking them to the Art Academy, and it was just a blessing to be there, because Mario Andre is the instructor's name. He really just pushes the kids to do their absolute best, and the artwork that comes out of that school is pretty freaking amazing. And these are kids from, I don't know how old the youngest one is, but I've seen some 7-year-olds do some amazing things in that school, creating apps. Whether you sell them or not, it's just the fact that you're 7 or 8 and you know how to create an app that somebody may actually pay you. So you're getting a check at 7 or 8. Just amazing stuff and things that you don't necessarily find in East Point, Georgia. You know, who's doing this? And I actually found out about it because he left some cards at the East Point Library. And I said, oh, my son likes art. What's this? Oh, he likes comic book art. And I went and checked it out. And it was just a match. You know, some things are just divine order. But I do that with my kids. I do that with the kids that I see in the library. If you can sit there and sketch the level of work that I see that this gentleman has and a couple of people over here, I didn't get to see everybody's, but you need to do something with it. Even if it's just your side hustle, that's not really your thing. You have a God-given talent. You need to learn how to foster it, and while you're at it, get some paper.
Hold on 1 second, okay, W? Give me 1 second.
I told you, I'm going to hold the wrap it up box.
Wow, too much things you can do.
You never watch too much stage.
So one that came with the camera, I bought a kit. Yeah. One day I'll have some time and skills to require better and bigger. Okay.
All right, everybody, don't forget to tweet if you want to win a ticket. If you don't want to win a ticket, keep ignoring me. Tweet from your Twitter account, TBBCATL, with the hashtag, because without the hashtag, well, I guess without the hashtag, we can still find you, but this is how we're going to find you that you tweeted. TBBCATL, Artist King, and at Lucom. All right, so as long as you do that, we'll see your tweet, and we'll be able to point that to a winner. And my wife says she's going to pick a winner tonight before we all leave. So this is your chance. If you want to you want to participate in the November Artist King from the 2nd to the 4th, all 3 days for free, then you need to go ahead and tweet. Let's see, what else did I have to say? I think that's it. So I'm going to ask W. So how you get started with art and why what happened?
Well, I mean, like, how you started?
Yeah, with the kid. What was your first memory of art, and why did you try it?
I would say I was about 3, and I remember drawing on the wall. Drawing on the wall. And then I went through a period where I was obsessed with Hagar the Horrible. And I had a great phase of drawing unicorns. And they got me kicked out of art class for the year. So I stopped drawing unicorns. Well, here's the reason why. Okay.
Make your case.
If you guys are old enough to remember Ringling Brothers, they had a unicorn on tour. And my sister took me and my best friend at the time to see the circus. And that was the last time I ever been to a circus. But at the time, they had this goat with a horn on it. And they were like, this is a unicorn. And you really can't show kids magical creatures because that just messes with their head. So I went on this unicorn kick for a while, and I just kept drawing unicorns over and over again, which is odd for a guy to be drawing unicorns. But so I was they had the art program set up to where, like, if you're advanced, you could be in the higher level class. So I was a 3rd grader in the 6th grade art class.
What?
And then I was drawing these unicorns because that was my shtick, I was unicorn dude. So I was drawing these unicorns, and when you're painting with that cheap trade paper, the paper like the paint is like really crackly and dry, and then you can't temper paint, yeah. So I was drawing this unicorn, and the unicorn was coming out gray, and everybody knows unicorns are white. So I went to the teacher's like, can I start again because unicorn's gray and it's not working out for me. And she's like, no, it's beautiful. Just keep drawing the unicorn. This is great. Like, listen, unicorn is great. Unicorn is great. We got in a big argument, and I was kicked out of our class. And then I got kicked off the yearbook staff because of the unicorn fallout. And I left New York and moved to North Carolina. So I just went progressively. So I grew up in a place called Fayetteville, North Carolina, and went to college in East Carolina. Yes, there's 2 members of the family here. I went through the 5-year art program. They said 4 years, but it's really 5, 6, 7 years. The way they got it set up, they're never going to get out of there. But so after, my major is in, they call it communication arts. I don't even know if that still exists in that term. But I came in right when I was in the first generation to use computers. I'm not that old yet, but I was like right after, like maybe Photoshop was in 5, 6. Not CS. Photoshop 5. 5. And that's what we learned on like Illustrator. So, and the way they had the program set up is that if you're an illustration major, you have to know graphic design, or you can't graduate the DFA program. So, most illustrators are pretty decent graphic designers, but in your head, you're like, I'll never go to the English. I plan to just do illustration. And then you face the real world, and you're like, I need to start designing to make some money. So, what happens is, like, a lot of artists now are so diversified in the skills, they just don't do one thing anymore, And most people just, I only know a handful of artists, and they're usually a lot of artists that just say, I just paint. And those guys can do that. But folks that don't have it like that, like I paint, design, draw, sketch, I build houses, lay down, do flooring, So you have to be more diverse in your skill set. So after when I got out of school, I was, under the illusion, like a lot of our students, that I'm that dope that I'm just going to walk into a design firm. They're just going to hire me just on the trick of who I am. I was wrong. So I got sent back home. So I was living at home, and I was working at the newspaper. And the major turning point for me was going to work and most people, when you see like TV shows, they show the newsroom's always hectic and people running on stop the rain. That doesn't happen. That never happens. It's the ad room that's tripping out. They're the ones that's wilding out because people's ads are running wrong. And I remember going into work, and the one thing you don't want to do is we come in at 10, the staff gets there at like 7, so they got hours of waiting for you to get there so they can yell at you for messing up an ad. And then they had this big retirement party for somebody that worked there for 42 years. And they're like, you worked there 42 years and you get a watch. And I'm like, a watch? 42 years, you get a watch? You should buy a watch every 42 years. It wasn't even a fancy watch like a Rolex. It was just like a Seiko, you know? Yeah, I'm like, you're somewhere 42 years, you're not running anything. So I was like, this ain't for me. I put my notice in and I got into the web industry in Atlanta. That's when the internet bubble before it busted and all that stuff. So, where they were paying designers ridiculous amounts of money for doing basic stuff. Those days are no longer here. And it sucks. But that's back when it was great. It was like the gold rush, Like it was like prohibition in the mall. We're flying the whole company to Vegas. Okay. But then I worked there for a while. Then, like everybody else I know at the time, I got laid off, which is a very interesting experience. Probably many of you experienced it at some point in time in this particular environment. But for those who haven't, here's how you know it's coming. First thing, they get rid of the people they don't like. So usually those are the people that are the jerks. They're really difficult to work with. They're the first to go. Then then the next people to go are the people that they can get by barely without. And then there comes the people who, by the time you get to the third and fourth, the show is over. So I made it to the fourth round. I went. There was really no work for me to do. And this is kind of crazy. So. My code word for going home is, I'm going to work from home. But that's meaning I'm going to sleep. Because there's no work for us to do. So I was like, I think I'll work from home. So I go home, I get in my bed, I keep my laptop right by my bed and wait for a message to pop up and I'll ask me something, I'll just type and go back to sleep. That was my plan. So I do that, and then my boss is like, hey, I know you're going to be leaving in a couple of weeks, so you need to get your paperwork in. I'm like, okay. I'm looking, okay, it's a little late for it to be there, no problem. I get there every morning at like, 7:45, 8. But everybody's there, which is unusual, because I'm usually the second person in the office. People are filing things, going through paperwork, sending off emails, the office is in full swing, and I'm like, okay, what's happening? And then around 10 o'clock, the voice comes on. Well, everybody please report to the conference room. And I'm like, oh no, they're laying some more people off. So everybody's in the conference room, and he's like, well, as of, they explained, like 6 o'clock last night, the manager was having a meeting in a box center. Inside the box, there was envelopes. We passed those envelopes out, and it turned out to be everybody's paycheck. So we're closing we're shutting down all offices in North America as of 5 o'clock today. Now, I was going to leave anyway, so I'm like, cool, I got an appointment, I'm straight. But that wasn't the case for some people. This one dude could not process that in his mind. He's like, so what does that mean? He's like, around 5 o'clock, we're going to be shutting down all the offices in North America. He's like, how does that affect us? And I'm like, are you in an office in North America? At 5 o'clock, these doors will shut. You'll be outside of it, never to return. So that was pretty much my move into working for myself. So I've been doing that, working for myself probably about going on 11 years. So that was like my last full-time job in the field.
Do you give any advice about artists that might be on the brink of going off to work for themselves? I'm actually kind of on that hump myself at the moment, and it's like looking at doing a bit. You get nervous about that, right? Like, you obviously believe in anyway, and so that's what you had left to do, and you wanted to do it, so it worked out wonderful.
Well, I would say this: prepare. If you have the option to prepare, do it. Some people don't. Some people you walk in there make stuff in a box and you gotta leave. But if you have an opportunity to prepare, save your money. Save money. And also while you're saving your money, start building your connections and your contacts. So therefore, and do all these self-promotional things. Gradually start building that up. So while I was working for the company, I was also freelancing for different companies too. So when on the full-time end, I still had something coming in, you know, on the freelance gig. So start building up your freelancing. So look at it like this. From 9 to 5, you work for them, and then from, I'll give yourself maybe a couple hours to eat and everything, and you sleep. So 7:30 to 1 in the morning, you work for you. And that's how you got to be. You know, if you got a gig where you can do both, you know, like, you know, you have a job where you're in your own office and you got nobody supervising you and you sitting there doing the thing on the side, that's cool. Just don't get caught, because that may expedite the process of leaving. But use the time at night to really start getting your stuff out there. I would suggest start building your name and your brand, using social media, letting people know that you're around, because they can't hire you if they don't know you exist. And it's the consistency of it. And continue to put stuff out there, put it out there. You know, and a lot of people use stuff like Twitter and all that stuff, and Instagram, which is pretty cool. I would say this: if you have a time crunch, there's programs out there where you can set up your tweets in advance, and it schedules it for you. That way, you still keep out there. You still keep putting messages around. Hey, I'm still around. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Just so people know that you're still moving.
What's the name of that program?
This social for Tweet Later.
You got a tweet deck.
Tweet deck.
Also,
Yeah. There's a bunch of them. You can use Tumblr. You can schedule stuff on Tumblr. Even though Tumblr really doesn't get the same. Like Tumblr can post to Facebook and Twitter, but I think it doesn't get the same amount of buzz. But I can tell you this: Instagram, people hit you back instantly. It's amazing how fast people respond to Instagram. You'll post something and like 2 seconds later, you see like 4 likes. Mm-hmm. And you think to yourself, are they waiting for you to post something? So, yeah, that's my advice. So definitely start preparing. You know, in that time where you still have a steady income coming in, start getting your business stuff in order. Get your accounts open, your tax ID, get your business license, all that, while you still have a gig. You know, so you still have a little bit of cushion. And then gradually make your exit to the point, you know, once you have your stuff together, then you can slide out, you know, to the freelance world.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Who's ever been laid off before?
I've been thrown out.
Been thrown out?
Now here's the question: how many people laid off more than once? More than twice? In our parents' generation, that didn't happen that often. So like now, we're going to be having like a couple of careers in the span of our lives. So the layoff thing, I have a friend of mine who's been laid off so many times, it doesn't even phase him no more. Oh boy, he's like, got laid off, all right, see you later, man. Going to do. Doesn't matter anymore.
I think it's important that we have to understand that there's only so many opportunities out there. So in order to succeed, especially when you have a talent, then you have to make your own opportunities. You have to push your own stuff. I did an interview with Miles Davis, the guy back there with the red shirt on. Awesome artist. And he told me about his struggles and the successes of living the college life and working in an art store, and people get to see him, and he's doing all kinds of jobs. But then when you get out there and you really do the art full time, he had to hit the clubs and be at the, forget a couple restaurants that he would do live painting at, just to get the word out and show people your skills. You know, and that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to really put yourself out there and show your skills and talk to people and be animated and friendly, yes, and try to get into people's emotions so they can dig into their pocket and pay you. Yes. You know, and that's the world that we're living in now. That's the only way it's going to happen. You can hire a firm, you can hire an agent, you can hire salespeople. Sure, go for it. If you got the cash for it, go for it. If those salespeople accept payments for payment, then you set. but that's exactly what's going to have to happen. You're gonna have to sit down and look at yourself really, really serious, like, and say, okay, what are the opportunities out there, and which avenue am I going to approach? You know, because the way I see it, there's a whole lot of artists everywhere, especially in Atlanta. There's a lot of us, a lot. But there's also people buying artwork, and art is never going to die. People are going to want art. Not just art, but they need designs, they need layouts, they need websites, they need logos, they need apps. So who is going to do all this stuff? Artists. So you either find your way, the thing that you like and the thing that you're good at, and then push that, you know, or just, you know, go ahead and keep a regular job and say, okay, I'm gonna do art on the side. But I think what we really want is, we all should want, because that's what I want as an artist, is to further my standard of living by doing that one thing I love to do, draw. You gonna pay me to draw? Let's do it. I'm down. I'm ready right now. You know, because I'd rather just sit around and draw than do anything else out there. And there's nothing wrong with regular work, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to draw. And so you should have the same desire. Anybody got any questions?
I got a question. This question is for the whole panel, to include you, Dan. For anyone out there who may be considering art school, or to go or not to go, from your experiences, and I believe you can become an awesome artist either direction you go, but what are the pros and cons to being a traditionally educated artist through an art school and being a self-taught artist? Because you can be a great artist at either one, but what are some of the pros and cons, ups and downs, some of the good and bad experiences of going either way for anybody?
Go ahead, Ashley.
For me, I would say that I went to a liberal arts school, so we were our own little community within a community. So you learn so much, like being able to be on that campus. It wasn't about teaching you how to draw, or you knew how to draw, or you knew how to paint, or you knew all the arts they were telling me about. That stuff we already knew. That stuff is almost innate. So when I got there, it was learning like, okay, where's my niche here? That's when I learned about medical illustration. That's where I learned about urban design. When I hooked up with these engineer majors and I hooked up with these medical college kids, you know, when you're looking at these different fields, that's where I made my money at in college. Okay, that's how I paid my books and stuff. You know, hey, I got a project. This is I can do that for you. You know, and it also gives you that kind of connection to understand where else I can go with this besides just art. But I wouldn't say that you have to take the road of college, or you have to, like I said, when I went into art teaching, they kept telling me, well, you need to have a certification, you need to take the teacher test, you need to take this. I had nothing but an art degree. That was it. And really, you just have to, like you said, sell yourself. It's like getting on your feet, and it's not always on the web. Everybody wants to be on the web, but sometimes these people want to meet you and see your energy. When they see your energy, they're like, I want her. You know, when I came here, I had 6 job offers. There were art teachers being laid off everywhere. And it was because I was on my feet, like hitting the pavement, on Mars, or getting off the train, like, hey, I'm here, I need a job, I'm ready, let me show you what I can do. It's just having that drive, you know. So, like, I met some awesome people who, you know, have learned the skill of marketing. You know, once you learn that skill of marketing, it's not really a necessary thing to go pay $100,000 and be stuck in debt trying to pay back, you know, a school.
Right, I'm gonna go off of what she just said. Sometimes I know I've seen artwork in comic books that I'm thinking, who gave this guy this job? This art, what did he do to this? And people are buying those comics. The comic companies are printing those books, and so it's not so much as are they looking for the most talented artists? They're looking for they putting on the people they're coming across who's really putting it in their face, who's really doing the hard work and pounding and getting the marketing out there. There was in the 90s Rob Liefeld. Yeah. And his stuff was crazy, out of proportion. He had terrible. Yeah, but you know what? That guy. Yeah. But the guy made it. The guy did it, and he's teaching art. And it's like, yeah, he has a school. Yeah, he has a school, and it's like, well, at least comic book art, you know. And he ain't trying to be Picasso, I don't think. But it's like this is you know, who sat down with this guy and said, you're on, you're next, you know. So that's the guy I want to meet, whoever put him on, you know what I mean. And so that's it. That's really what you're after, you know. You got to push that stuff out there. But we still haven't answered all the questions. Go ahead, Miles.
Well, I was just going to piggyback on what you were saying, because I know exactly who that is, and I'll tell you guys do too. Going back to the art school question, I did go to art school at Auburn University. And my one regret when I was there is that if you decide to go to any kind of art school, particularly an art institute or something like that, try to make sure to take some business courses. Yes. Because when I got out of art school, again, it was like I'm talking about earlier. It's like you're looking in this black hole and you're like, I have no clue what to do. Yeah. And so, like, on top of that, But he did jump over with them and make some money from those days doing that. So business courses, make sure you take some supplemental courses on top of that if you want to go that direction, because I learned the hard way.
I would tell you, art school will teach you everything except how to make a living.
Yeah.
You learn how to paint, learn how to sculpt, learn how to take photos, but they won't tell you how to get a check out of a client that doesn't want to pay you or not. They won't teach you that too. And I think that is one thing that they should stress in art programs, whether it's a BFA or BA program. They have you taking, you go to college and take classes in all types of ridiculous things. I took a semester of bowling. Bowling? No. Could I benefit from a business class? Yes.
No, when I was art history, we did have business classes. I took at least once.
Like in our school, I don't even think that was part of our curriculum to graduate in East Carolina. At that time, it was not. Yeah, there was no art, there was no business related soft programs and everything.
They didn't care what you did when you left.
No, they didn't care at all. They were like, and I think that's one of the drawbacks. And well, like an example of how things change so much. After 5 years in East Carolina, and I was an RA and all that stuff there, I only owed like $14,000. My niece wanted to go to the same college I went to, and they wanted $15,000 a semester. So art school is tremendously expensive. I think personally, way too expensive. It shouldn't be that expensive. But
not including your materials.
Not including materials.
That's just your tuition.
Because I think art major is probably the most expensive major, probably next to medical, because you can drop $5 grand on an art major and just have a computer and a camera. That's like including paint, and depending on the paint you use. When I first went to school, they were like, I spent $500 on supplies, and I'm like, how did you possibly do that? Then I spent $500 on supplies. I'm like, oh my goodness. But I would say the major difference to answer your question is that you can be good at going to school teaches you technical ability and it gives you like an environment to experiment, and possibly by the time you're done you'll have an idea of what your style may be, because you can play around because the projects are designed for you to experiment. Like you go to the illustration department, they'll have a watercolor project, acrylic project, oil glazing, whatever, and you have to take foundation classes and different things, and that exposes you to a variety of stuff that you may not come across if you're just out on your own. So that aspect is great. The cons to that, they don't teach you the business stuff, they don't teach you practical stuff, and a lot of the people that are teaching it aren't currently in the game. Right. So they're not in the struggle like that. They don't really know what's really hot on the streets right now because they've been teaching in academia for 20 years.
They're there for a job.
Right.
Yeah, so they're coming from a different perspective because they have the security of tenure. Whereas when you get out, you have no security and you're just on your grind. So you got to keep in mind the information that's coming at you. So if you have a professor that's currently still working in the field, that's great because they can tell you practical stuff that's up to date. Like when I was in school, the teachers I had, comic book stuff was almost like a bad word. And urban art was like talking like Mars language or something. They were like, what are you talking about? You want to do hip hop drawing? It's crazy. So they don't have they really didn't have the variety of experiences like that. So, and as far as artists being not going to college, some of them I come across that are excellent artists, top of the game. They have a different mentality because being that they didn't go to art school, they had to hustle a lot earlier. So their hustle game is tight. They're on their grind a lot harder because they didn't have 5-6 years to sit back in the dorm and playing around. They're out there hustling from day one. Only thing is some of them feel that they're missing something from the art experience in college, but honestly, I look at their work and a lot of times they got it. They got the gist. The only thing they missed was going to class, but they still have a lot of principles. So that's my opinion.
Thank you. I want to make sure you tweet. My wife already has a list of the people who have been tweeting, so if you have not tweeted yet, you're not going to get a chance to win the ticket. All right, so make sure it says Lucom, Artist King, TBBCATL. And I'm gonna close out with this. I never went to college. I didn't take any art classes. I did take one in 10th grade, and I was only there one day a week, even though it was every day. It's supposed to be there every day. That was not a good year for any class. But so that we'd have a whole week to do one assignment, and every week was a different medium.
But I don't care about any other medium other than pencil. That was my thing, and it still is. So I would show up the Monday when they would tell you the assignment, and then and before that hour or 2 hours, whatever, however long the class was over, I was done. And I would turn it in and not show up until the next Monday. And so I think I almost failed that class. Even though my art skills were there, they wasn't teaching me anything I didn't already know, that I had to learn on my own, looking at comic books, looking at cartoons, and reading muscle magazines and looking at the pictures. I almost failed it just because I was not involved. I didn't care to know the teacher. I didn't care to hang out with the people that were in there, and I thought they were all snobs. And this is in East LA. So it's amazing that people, I thought other people were snobs. In the hood, right? And so, but I know that I came from a family of merchants. My grandfather, my cousins, my aunts, my mother, they all sold something. In Mexico, they had a business. In LA, my mother sold Tupperware, Avon, everything else. She made me run right down the street with my bicycle and go collect money, go drop off products. And I saw her hustle and sell all my life. And so when it came to high school times, and you get your books, and they give us out these big sheets of paper to cover your books with, I'm drawing on it. And other kids are coming up to me and say, "Why don't you draw something on mine?" And I would draw on stuff on it. And so eventually I figured out that I had leverage. I have something that you want. So what can I get from you because I have something that you want to hear? And so that's it. And from then on, when I was in the Marine Corps, I came to Atlanta. The Olympics were coming. Everybody at Freaknik was in full effect. So if you could draw, there was a T-shirt out there for you to sell. And it's like, well, let's do it. This is before the internet, before Twitter, before any of that stuff. Literally. People didn't have cell phones. The beepers were barely coming on. And so what all I'm saying is that I love art. I love seeing other artists work, and I emulated a lot of it to the point where I understood what I needed to do to make my art look good. And I had the hustle mentality, so I've been hustling that ever since. So school was not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just for some people, and for others, we just have it. We're just born with it, and we have to develop it to the point where it becomes marketable. And that's all I got to say tonight. Anybody has a last comment or question? No? You got something.
Well, I got questions for him. I might slip that in before I leave. But one thing I will say about art school, for me, I went to Atlanta College of Art before they closed down and the SBA bought them out. And for me, art school, you get out of, the business side sucked. Because I took their business classes, and it did not prepare me for what I needed to learn as far as dealing with galleries, it just didn't. But on the flip side of it, that sucked, but on the flip side, I learned so much just by being around so many crazy artists. I got to meet Radcliffe Bailey and be around him a lot, and just a lot of other artists you get to meet people from Korea, from New Zealand, from New York, and just being in that environment around so many people and living in the dorms with them, it opened up my mind to what's possible as an artist. So my ability to express myself grew because I was around them, but the business side did so big time.
All right, this is your last chance to tweet. Anybody's going to tweet before my wife picks a winner? No? Okay, that's it. Yeah? I want everybody to give W, Ashley, and Andaiye a hand. Thank you, Deidre, for the food and AT&T devices. Thank you, Dion, for coming out and offering her massage services. You need to go out there and get some of that stress off, all this art talk. And so what you got, babe? Let me see. What? Is there somebody named Christina here? That's you? Yeah. And that's our winner for tonight. And make sure you check out the website TBBCATL.com for more info.
And next month is artisking.org.
I did going into the classrooms. I was in the National Art Honor Society. I had to get credits. I had to do that. And I definitely did I don't have
No, I think like one.
Okay.
What's up, brother?
All right.
Yeah,
I'll give you something.
Yeah, it is.